I think if we want to understand the challenge of education, we need to look at 2 points in time. The first is the first day of school. There we go. I want you to think about yourself, if you're young enough, or your children. And I want you to think about, say, one word that might describe the 6-year-old on the first day of school. And I think the word probably, if I had to pick one, it's excitement. These kids start with maximum motivation, with maximum energy, with maximum excitement, with maximum feeling that they can do anything. They're willing to try anything. No one has told them that they have failed. They haven't received a page like this full of red marks about what's wrong with them. Nobody told them they're bad at math or they're bad at art. They're ready to do anything. And then what happens to them? It's downhill from there. This is a graph of engagement. This is, starting from elementary school, going through high school. And I think that when we think of education, maybe we should start with the motto of medicine, which is first, do no harm. We're doing harm here. And so the first challenge is, how can we not do harm? How can we take that motivation and at least preserve it, maybe make it go up? The next point in time to understand the challenge of education, I think, is at the very end. When you graduate from the system after university, whenever you get out of the system. And again, think of your own kids if they're at that stage. Think of yourself. You come out of all this framework that has been your life for so many years, and you're lost. You don't really know who you are. You don't really know what you're good at, what you want. You have no experience dealing with an open-ended situation. You have no experience really solving the problems of life. We call it real life because it's so different than school. So we have to figure out, how can we produce kids who can function in the world after they get out of the system? So I think to do that, we have to go to first principles. We have to really rethink what education is for. And I think maybe the way to think about that is to ask the question, what do we want for our children? Now I have my own list. We can all make a very long list. Just kind of randomly, this is where I started. We want our kids to be comfortable with themselves. We want them to have self-confidence. We want them to know the happiness that comes from strong relationship, from being challenged and doing something they believe in. Strong relationships. We want them to have friends, to know what it is to be a friend. We want them to know what it's like to be a family, a father, a parent, a brother. Whatever it is, these are things we need so much in life, and we don't associate them with education, with school. We want them to know how to be part of a community. We want them to be a part of a community. We're not born knowing how to do this. We want them to experience being something larger, part of something larger than themselves. We want them to be able to live lives of purpose. Are these things luxuries? Are these things that have nothing to do with education? Now note in this list, nowhere, nothing appears about getting a job. Our purpose in life isn't getting a job. The purpose of getting a job may be to do some of these things. Getting a job is a means You know, if you take Maslow's hierarchy, it's not at the top. And yet education has become obsessed with getting a job because it's failing people even in that. So how can we fix this? And I want to present here an idea for what we're calling the Israeli school. It's composed of many elements. I'm working hard on this with Yaakov Hecht, who's here, and the two of us are going to be speaking, kind of having a conversation later about this. But I've collected from all over the world a bunch of paradigms, a bunch of schools that exist, and not just schools, of experiences outside of school. And this list isn't going to mean anything, so I want to unpack each one. The first one is an incredible school in Holland called Agora. It doesn't divide kids by age. It doesn't have a curriculum. It doesn't have classes. It doesn't have real teachers as we know them today. It doesn't have tests, and yet it's very structured. Whatever you're doing, whatever you're learning, you have to learn deeply. You know, if you want to study a refrigerator, you have to learn how it works. You have to learn the culture around it that maybe this device caused, the history. You know, whatever it is you're learning about, you can learn it very deeply from many different angles. This is what it looks like. This is what Agora School in Holland looks like. I don't know if you can see it, but way up in the upper right corner, there's a guy kind of sitting on the edge of the roof of part of this. I like that. You know, the kids are just all very busy learning, because that's what they want to do. You go back to that first grade picture. We all want to learn if we just had the time to do it. Our schools don't give us any time to learn. It drives us crazy. It drives the most curious people, I think, crazy. The next one I just discovered in the last few days is a school in the very remote part of India called Akshar. And I really encourage you, please watch this video on YouTube. You'll find it at the Akshar Foundation. It's a 3-minute video, and it's about kids. That kid on the left is a teacher. He's a student teacher. The student teachers in this school have come out of rock quarries. They were child laborers. And what's happened is the school is now paying them a little bit to become teachers of the younger kids in the school. The older kids teach the younger kids. And what that means is that every kid has their own teacher. The next one is called African Leadership University. I don't have time to go into it very deeply, but they have come up with this amazing list of meta skills that they spend the whole first year of university on. This is what are called 21st century skills. We call them life skills. We call them non-cognitive skills. We have all these names for them. These are the things we want, and we have no idea how to get, because we can't get them by tweaking the existing school system. The last ones are all very Israeli. There's Sofim, which is actually doing something that's similar to Akshar, which is the older kids take care of the younger kids. You know, the 15 and 16-year-olds are running the show. The madrichim, the raskadim. Think about the kind of experience, the kind of responsibility that these kids have. This is where we learn. This is Tofim, this is the Machnak, it's called the summer session, where there's like 1,000 kids in a forest and there are no adults and they're just running the whole thing. And the last one here in Israel is we have the military, which is all about missions. All they do is they keep throwing missions at you. And they don't tell you how to do it. Here's your mission, figure it out. And they're giving you, and you have incredible amounts of challenge and responsibility. Now, I think from this experience, we know what it's like to be challenged. We know what it's like to have responsibility. We can't transfer all this experience into the school system, but it's something we know what we want, we know how to get it. So, in short, schools should be about challenges and responsibility. This is the way we become the kind of people that we want our kids to be. And I hope that we can build this kind of school. And it's not, I have to say, it's not about data, it's not about technology, it's not about e-learning, it's about changing the way we think about education. Thank you.